Thanks, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Good morning to all my friends joining us from the Middle East and the African region. Good afternoon to all my friends joining us from India. I am Aditya Jain, and I'll be hosting today's webinar on behalf of EC Council. So the webinar today is on cybersecurity and specifically jobs and market scenario in the IMEA region. Right? So before we start with the webinar, I'll just quickly introduce myself. 1 second. Yeah. So I'm basically just your average computer engineer who has a weird thing for drones and artificial intelligence. So that's about it. And talking about cybersecurity, I personally entered this field in 2009 and have been into it since then. So I started it when I was studying in my university in the Middle East itself. And I got into this field like I guess any other student does. I saw movies, I was excited about it, and I wanted to hack stuff. So that's how I started. And once I graduated, I then started doing it at a professional level. In my journey of this of this stream, I did end up attaining a few certifications which I mentioned. So as you can see, I am a certified instructor, an EC Council instructor, and I do have a few other certifications as well. So that's basically about me. And now let's just start with the webinar. Okay. So the first question that I would like to address is, what is cybersecurity? Right? This is a very common question. That what is cybersecurity, and more of what do cybersecurity professionals do for a living? And what is ethical hacking, and more of how is ethical hacking legal? These are some very important questions. But before I address them, before I go towards what is it, like what do professionals do? I'm sure all of you know what cybersecurity is generally. But what do professionals do? We really need to understand that, is cybersecurity really required or not? The motivation to get into this profession needs to be correct. So let's try to understand if this is a good career or not, right? So we have, I'm showing you the population stats of two different countries. One is India and one is Australia. You can see that India's population is approximately 1.3 billion, and Australia's population is around 25 million. Similarly, you can also see that there's a huge difference in the number of police officials which are present in Australia and to the number present in India. And why is this? Well, the logical reason is that India has a higher population and hence a higher crime rate. Right? The more the people, the higher the crime, and the higher, and the more officials. And, you need more officials to take care of that. So similarly, taking the same logic, we look at the internet. Currently, there are approximately 4.7 billion people. Right? That's more than 50% of the population of this planet who are using the internet, and this number is growing continuously. As this number grows, companies have a higher incentive of creating newer technologies, of developing better technologies. And the more technologies that are created, the more loopholes are present in those technologies, and the more cybercrime exists. So to stop that cybercrime, cyber professionals are required, cybersecurity professionals. And that is why we are important. So that's the first thing from a logical point of view. Let's look at another point of view. That's data security. Right? So normally, you can take your own example. Mostly everyone today who's on the internet, they have a laptop or a desktop, right? Some kind of laptop or desktop, and they have some kind of a smartphone. Let it be an iPhone, let it be an Android phone. They have that, and you use multiple applications on both these different devices. So let's assume on your computer, you have applications like, so if you're working in a corporate, you'll have applications like LinkedIn, Outlook, Slack, and Zoom, right? Right now you're connected via GoToWebinar, so that's again a tool that you have. You might be playing games, right? You might be on Steam, a Garena, a G Arena, whatever, and you're doing that. Then we go to your mobile phone. You're using applications like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Right? You might be using a few dating applications. So all the data is where does it go? So all this data is collected and is stored in servers of these companies, correct? And the servers can be locally in their store, in the warehouse, or it can be in some other country, and which we known as cloud, which is known as cloud, right? So there is so much data today. Everything, let it be a corporate, let it be a small business, let it be a startup, let it be your personal life. Everything is based out of data. Your entire history, right? All your important emails. Let's say you're in a university, you're doing a college project, and you saved it on the cloud. Let's say you're using Dropbox, or you're using Google Drive, or OneDrive. You save it, and tomorrow you get up. It's the day of your submission, and you get up and you see that your file is missing. That's not a very good sign, right? So if let's assume you're using Google Drive, and if Google does not put in the right resources in securing their data, then there's a high chance that the data can be either stolen or misplaced or used against you. So hence, to stop data theft, that's the major reason what we do, right? That's the main thing. Cybersecurity professionals have to stop data theft. So hence, this stream is very important. So now let's look at the life of a cybersecurity professional. So you've gotten you now know the motivation of why to get in and why does this field even exist. But what is what is an average day for a cybersecurity professional, and what do we do? So yeah, the first thing is we hack for a living, and it cannot get cooler than that, I'm sure. And yes, we do everything legally. So now the question which arises is, how is hacking legal? We're all under this perception, thanks to the different movies which are created, that hacking is illegal. But let me give you an example, a very small example. So let's say you drive a vehicle, right? Let's say you drive a car, and you go and you apply for a driving license. You get that, and after getting the license, you're legally allowed to drive the car. It's legal. But if you take that car and if you run someone over and you kill them, that specific thing is illegal. Right? So it's about how you use your power. Similarly, in hacking, if you do it with the permission of a company, then it is legal. If you do not take proper permission, proper written permission, then that can lead you into a mess. So that is there. The next question which arises is, why would companies want you to hack them? Well, we have a logical answer for that as well. So companies hire security professionals. Right? They'll go to a cybersecurity consultancy. They'll hire professionals, and they'll ask them to come to their, to come to their campus, hack their systems, find the loopholes, and give a solution of how to cover those loopholes so that real hackers cannot get in. And that's about it. So that's one thing that we do. Another thing that we do is, you must be aware of that every major company today has network administrators. Right? There are people who configure networks, who configure switches, routers, and probably honeypots, who do all of that. But how do you configure them securely? How do you configure them so that you can keep the hackers out? That's again another thing that we do. Now let's assume that a cyber crime does take place. The next step is now to recover your data and to catch the cyber thief or the cyber criminal. And that's what we call forensics. So we also have a forensic division. And it all depends on your motivation and which side of security do you want to enter. So that is there. And the last thing is, we continuously, this is the most important thing, it's that we keep learning about newer technologies. This is again very important. And as technology is updating every day, around 12 years back, cloud came in. these days IoT is really there, and there were Dockers which were introduced a few years ago. So these are all different technologies that we keep on learning, and we have to keep ourselves updated. So that's the average life of a cybersecurity professional. And now let's discuss the different roles when it comes to a job. What are the different kinds of roles which exist in a company? And if you do think of pursuing it, these are the different areas where you can fit in. So I would first like you to concentrate on three colors. That's the yellow team, blue team, and red team. Let me first introduce the red team. The red team are the offensive players, are the offensive hackers, which will hack stuff and then give you a resolution. So that's the red team. The blue team are the defenders. They are basically your, let's say, your network administrators who are responsible, for configuring all your different systems, all the different hardware which is present in the company. That's the second thing. The third team, the yellow team, which are basically the builders. The builders are the developers, the coders, people in the company who are developing software for the internet or for the intranet. Right? There can be applications which the company uses internally, so they develop that. So these are the three different teams that you can be a part of. Now let's look at the other three colors. So the first thing is the purple team. Now the purple team is responsible to coordinate between the blue and the red team, right? So the red team can do offensive attacks, and the blue team stops those attacks. So that entire process is overseen by the purple team. Talking about the green team basically it's there to enhance security automation. Now the question is, what does it mean? So normally the blue team is not aware of what are the different kind of software and tools which are being developed by the yellow team and which are being put up on the network. For example, what are the different network calls that will be taking place? What kind of TCP traffic or different protocols traffic that would be going around in the network. So the blue team talks to the yellow team via the green team, and they figure out that what are the different systems being used by the yellow team, and then they modify their internal systems accordingly. The final team is the orange team, and the orange team is there to coordinate between the yellow and the red team. The major problem for cyber attacks is that it's not that the yellow team members are bad, like the developers are bad and they do not know how to code. Well, it can be a really good company and they could have hired the best developers. The issue lies is that a developer is not a hacker. So the developer does not know the different entry points into a software or into a web application, into a system. So the red team is responsible via the orange team. The yellow team comes to know that, okay, if I have created this software, these are the different entry points from where a hacker can get in, and these are the entry points that I need to secure. So these are all the different teams. Then there is a white team, which basically consists of the management, consists of the analysts, who basically look over compliance issues, logistics, etc. So these are the different roles that are available in a company. So after some theory, I would first, before we move on further, I would like to show you a demo. For the people who do not know the left symbol, that's of Windows PowerShell. It's an amazing framework and a very powerful framework, which is present on every Windows computer today. The right symbol is of a framework called Metasploit. It's on Linux. It's a Linux-based system, and so we'll be using both of them together, and we'll try to basically hack a Windows 10 computer. And I'm sure you definitely recognize the GG part of it, so I'm not going to explain that. All right. So I'm just firing up Kali Linux. This is an open source operating system. It's a Debian-based operating system, which you can download from kali.org. So the aim of this demo is to create a partial backdoor or an exploit, or in common terms, let's say you can call it a Trojan, a virus, right? Whatever term that you are familiar with for the moment. Though in our terms, it's a backdoor. So we'll be creating a, a partial backdoor, okay, a file which can be executed via partial, and we will try to execute it from our victim machine. In this case, the victim machine is the Windows 10 machine that that I'm using at the moment. So the first thing that I'll do is I have to generate the exploit, right? I have to generate the Trojan, the virus, or the backdoor. For this, we are using a library called MSA Venom. It's part of the Metasploit framework that I just discussed. I'll quickly take you through the code that I'm using. Right? So the first thing that I do is I initiate the command, that's MSA Venom. The next thing that I put is a payload, right? Dash P is for payload. Now, what is a payload? A payload is that once your backdoor enters, or once a Trojan enters the system, what do you want it to do? Okay, what is the action that you want it to do? Do you want it to start logging keys? Do you want it to record from their mic, inbuilt mic? What do you want it to do, right? So in this case scenario, I have selected a payload which is a Windows x64. X64 is for the 64-bit. Shell underscore reverse underscore TCP. So I'm basically telling my victim's computer to open a reverse connection, right, to connect back to my machine and to give me shell access. In this case, to give me a command prompt access on my hacking machine. The next thing is called the lhost. Lhost is localhost, which means my IP address. This is the IP address that the victim will be connecting back to. So this would be your Kali box's IP address. This is the port that they would connect to. That's the 4444. In this case scenario, we can keep it anything. There are 65,535 ports. The other one is then format. It's a partial format. And then what is the name of the file that you would like to save it as? So let's run this command. You can ignore the Ruby warnings that I'm getting right now. So let's see what happens. Okay. As you can see that we were successfully able to create an exploit which has the payload size is 460 bytes, and you can see the final size of the file as well. If we go to this folder, we can navigate to this folder. You can see that the exploit is created. Let's try to read the exploit. Now, once you open this, I know a lot of you would not understand it, which is totally normal. Right? Not everyone gets this language, and not everyone is into this kind of stuff. So this basically, right? The hex code that you can see out here, this is our payload, which is being created and which would be run on the victim machine. So that's the first step. We have our backdoor on our machine. The second step is to send it or to execute it on our victim machine. So how do we do that? For today's practical, I will be running the command manually. But what you can do, if someone really wants to do it, you could run it via a USB drive. So let's say if you insert a USB drive, you can use the auto run feature to execute a partial command. Okay? Or if you have some other access, if you are at someone, or if you're there and someone has left their computer unattended, you can run it manually as well. So in today's case, what I'm going to do is, so there are two things. One thing is I can copy this file into the system and then run it. In that case, the antivirus will definitely flag it. The second case is I can have the victim machine download this file from my laptop and run it directly into memory. Right? And when we do that, then there is a lesser chance for the antivirus to catch it, right? And so let's see. So in order for the victim machine to get it from my machine, I will need to start an HTTP server. So I'll do that using Python 3. Once. Yeah. So as you can see, I've started an HTTP server on port 80 of my Kali machine in the same folder, where the file is present. Okay. Now we can go and execute the command. So as we execute the command on the on the victim machine, it'll try to connect back, get the file to their machine, and then execute it. If you remember correctly, that when it tries to execute, it will try to connect back on our IP at this port. So because it tries to connect back on our IP on this port, we need to start a listener. We need to listen for the connection. So for this, I'll be again using the Metasploit framework. I'll be logging into it and starting a listener. So this does take a few seconds. All right. So as you can see, that Metasploit has booted up. The initial banner shows the number of exploits present, the number of auxiliary attacks there, post modules, payloads, encoders, etc. So I'm just going to clear the screen, and I'm going to use an exploit which I already know, which acts as a listener. It's called exploit multi-handler. I'm going to check the different options which are required for this exploit. So because this is a listener, there are no specific options. I do need to set the payload, right? The payload that we are listening for. In our case, it was Windows x64, right? It was shell underscore reverse underscore TCP. Let's check the options again. Now you can see that a few payload options have added up, are now visible. And there are two major things that we need to care about. The first thing is an L host, and the next is L port. So our L port is the same as 4444, right? The one that we created. In L host, we need to just put our local IP. So I'll do set L host 9.168.1.61. I'm just going to recheck, confirm that this is my IP. So yes, as you can see, this is the IP address of my Kali computer. I'll do this. I will again check options. As you can see that this field is now updated. To start the attack, I can just do exploit. So when I press exploit, you can see that the reverse TCP handler was initiated on my IP, right? And now we are listening for connection. All that is left is to now run the command on a victim machine. So let's assume my Windows 10 in this example is the victim machine. I'll open the run command, and 1 second. I'll just copy. So fine. I'm going to use this partial command. It's a long command that you can see. And, let's just go to the end of the command and check it out. So we're basically giving a URL from where we're downloading the file. Right? This is my IP address. This is the name of the file, exploit.ps1, as you can see. This is the one. And we're basically downloading it and running it into memory. So let's run this and see what happens. As soon as I press OK, the first thing that you can see on our HTTP server is that there was a connection initiated from 192.168.1.12. That is the IP of my Windows 12 machine. Windows 10 machine. And it sent a GET request for this file, right, for the exploit.psn file, which is a good news. Let's go back to our listener. Now, as you can see, that the listener has opened a command shell from our computer to the victim machine. If I just press enter, you can now see the proper interactive shell which is present, right? I can do stuff out here. I can check the directory of my Windows 10 Pro. I can even do system info. Okay, so once I do this, let's give it a second. All right. So you can see that the operating system name is Windows 10 Pro. Different details, right? When was it originally installed, and the model number, and the different security patches that are there. Some network card information. I can also manually check the IP address and the different configurations available. Fine. So this is one method of doing it, in which you can use Metasploit in order to get a connection back. Just a small tip: you can also use another tool, because this specific payload, right, the Windows shell reverse TCP payload, can also be listened on. You can also hear it through other tools. So I'm going to show you another example using the Netcat tool. So I've initiated the netcal tool. I've put in some of the parameters, and I'm now going to start listening on port 4444. Once I do this, and if I run the same command, again, right, you'll see that I get the same connection out here as well. So this is one way that we can hack Windows computers, is by sending the file directly, basically not saving the file in the hard disk, but directly running it into memory. So that is one way. And I hope you like this demo. So now moving on. Now that you've seen, you now know what cybersecurity is, right? You now know why is cybersecurity important. You know what do we do, what's an average life of a cybersecurity professional, and you've also seen it in action of how I was able to crack a Windows 10 Pro machine, which basically has, as you can see, which has Windows Defender running. So how a hacker can still crack an updated Windows 10 Pro machine. Now that's the first question which is answered. The second question is how, right? Is how do you reach here? What is the path of reaching here, and how do you start in this domain? You might be a technical person right now. You might be, I assume that all of that, the majority of you are students. So you might be from the computer science division, or you might be from the mechanical division, or from some, from maybe arts, but you're still interested. So the first question is that can you still pursue this career if you do not have a background, a technical background? And the answer is definitely. EC Council has come up with a certification track which starts from the basics and goes on to make you an expert. As you can see, there are three different levels that they have divided their track into. The first one is called Core, which has two courses. The first one is CND. The next is the Certified Ethical Hacker Master, which is by far the most famous cybersecurity certification in the entire world. Then you can go to advanced, where they have the CTIA, and they have the EC Council Certified Security Analyst course. And then finally, at the expert level, they have the Licensed Penetration Tester Master examination. Right? It's amazing. It's an 18-hour examination that you have to get, that you have to do to clear it, to get the certification. So for the purpose of this specific demonstration, this specific webinar, I will be talking about the CEH course, because that's an amazing place to start your career from. It is a course which not only takes care of high-end stuff when it comes to hacking, but it also takes care of the basics for people who do not know anything in this domain or in the technical domain till now. Let's quickly go through the course outline of the CEH course. So currently the version 10 of CEH is running, and in this version there are 20 modules or 20 chapters. In short, we basically cover the 5 phases of ethical hacking. Right? The first phase of ethical hacking is called information gathering in layman terms, or in our terms, it's called footprinting and reconnaissance. So that's the first thing that we teach you. It's about gathering information about your target. The second step is divided into has three things in it. It's scanning networks, enumeration, and vulnerability analysis. Right? Scanning networks is basically trying to find out the number of computers or number of systems which are active on a network, number of IP addresses which are live. All right, you do that, then you move towards enumeration. Once you know the number of devices, once you know that, okay, these are the Windows computers, these are the ones running Mac OS, these are the number of Android phones, these are the number of iOS devices, you can then narrow down your search to a specific machine, and then try to find out more information. So let's say you find out that, okay, there's a machine running, which is a Windows machine. Now you want to now your next step is to find out what kind of Windows is it running. Is it running a Windows 10 machine? Is it running Windows 10? Is it running a Windows server, or what kind of Windows is it running. So you find out that all right, there's a Windows Server 2012 running. Now the next thing you want to find out is what are the different services which are running on that machine. There are 65,535 ports. Which all ports are open? So is there an FTP port open? Is there an FTP service running? Is there an SSH port open? Is there an Apache service running? Is there a website which is hosted? So you do that. Once you figure out all that stuff and you dive deep into it, you then, once you have all the services running and you know that, oh, all right, there is an FTP server running, and there is specifically, it's not Pro FTPD, it is VSFTPD 2.3.4 which is running. Your next step is to now find vulnerability in that service. Right? So that's where vulnerability analysis comes in. You can do this manually, or by googling it, or you can use different vulnerability scanners, right? Like OpenVAS is there, Nessus is there. You can use that. So all of this is not. After the first two phases, we then move on to the third phase, which is basically the hacking part of it. Having gathered all the information, and now that you know the vulnerabilities, you can use those vulnerabilities to crack stuff. So in hacking, we cover topics like system hacking. Right? We cover both Windows and Unix-based systems, DOS-based and Unix-based. We also cover hacking in web applications, which is very important, hacking web servers. We cover things like hacking mobile platforms, hacking Wi-Fi devices. All of that is covered. Other than this, we also, we learn about security in the cloud. So we talk about cloud computing, we talk about IoT hacking, we talk about how to evade intrusion detection systems, firewalls, honeypots. So we do all of that. We teach you stuff, things like denial of service attacks and social engineering. So normally any and everything that you can think about in this domain is covered in the CEHvio course. Finally, the last thing that's covered is cryptography, which is basically your encryptions. What are the different kinds of encryptions that are present today? If you use WhatsApp, you must have seen that it uses end-to-end encryption. So what is that, and how is it created? Is it possible to break it? If it is, then how do you do that? So all of that is covered in this course. So that's the course outline. Moving on to why this course, why CEHv10 specifically. If you want to learn ethical hacking, you could probably go into any course. You could go wherever you're living. You can go to your local city's training center and just do a local course from there. But why would you want to do this specific course from EC Council? Well, let's take an example. Let's say there are two people. This person A and this person B. Person A is doing computer engineering from a local university, a local college. It's not a very renowned college. It's just there. No one has really heard about it in the world, let alone the country where it is. And then the other person is doing it from Stanford University. Same course, right? Same computer engineering. When they both graduate, they both are computer engineers. But will both of them get the same pay package if they go for a job? No, right? It's very, very rare that person A can even come close to person B's pay package. Why is that? Both are computer engineers. Well, the reason is that one has a degree from a local university which no one knows about. The other has a degree from Stanford University, which the entire world knows about. That's the difference. Similarly, when we talk about cybersecurity, EC Council is known all around the world, right? Having a presence in more than 145 countries. So that is a very strong thumbs up in that area. Secondly, its courses are not only there and all around the world, they're also recognized. So when we talk about recognition, so this course specifically is accredited to ANSI, that's the American National Standards Institute, and it's one of the highest educational standards present in the world today. It's also mapped to the NICE framework. Right? That's the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education. That's an amazing thing. Other than this, you can see that it is recognized in places like the Department of Veteran Affairs in the States and the Department of Defense. Now, just imagine that if the Department of Veteran Affairs and the Department of Defense in the US, both of them uh, keep this condition that, okay, if you are certified from EC Council, if you have a certified ethical hacker certification from EC Council, then you can come and apply for a job out here. CEH today uh, is not only there in terms of providing you knowledge, it has also become a benchmark for all major companies, let it be private, let it be a government organization. It is now a benchmark to prove your skills in this industry. Uh, Talking about the delivery approach, okay, you now know about it. So you say that, okay, if I have to learn, what is the mode of learning? There are two different approaches that are followed, that we normally follow. The first is short approach, all right, where the delivery period is around 5 to 6 days, or it's an 8-hour training every day. It's between 6 to 8 hours, depending on who's training, and it's highly fast paced. And this is how every professional training takes place. And in this specific training, all industry level training standards are followed. So that's one way of doing it. It's for both university and corporate people, but in my experience, I have seen corporate people go for this kind of approach. When we talk about people in the university, then we talk about a longer approach, right? That is where we spread the course in the entire semester. The benefit of that is, um, firstly, it's at a much more comfortable pace, right? You're learning 3 to 4 hours a week, or probably 6 hours a week, depending on your specific university. So that is a very good thing. You get a lot of time to practice, right? Other than that, in this approach, we also provide career path mapping is there. We help you with your career, right? We show you how to go about it. There are different kinds of assessments and end of chapter quizzes which take place. So that is there. So these are the two different approaches uh, which you can choose from. Moving on to the exam, once you complete the certification, every student needs to then clear an exam. In this scenario, for the CH specifically, we have two different exams. The first, the one on the left that you can see, is the theoretical exam. Right? It's a 4-hour exam with 125 questions that are there. It's a multiple choice paper, which you can do. It's not the easiest exam in the world, so you really need to study for it. And and that's how its credibility exists in the world. That's why it exists, right? So by doing the theoretical exam, you prove your theoretical knowledge, and then after that, you can opt for the CH practical exam. The CH practical exam, it's an amazing experience. It's a 6-hour exam with 20 practical challenges. This is the place where you show the world that, okay, not only are my concepts clear, okay, I also know how to execute commands. I know how to do specific things practically, right? Because hacking is a practical thing. So this is how you're able to prove your skills, which is really important for corporates today. For to see that you can actually do it practically. The best thing is when you get both these certifications, you get the theoretical certification, the CH certification, and then you get the CH practical certification. You then become a CH master. Right? You're then given a CH master certification, which proves that you are amongst the cream, of the population who is into this domain, and that you have proved yourself. So that's about the exam. Um, Now, when we spoke about now that that we're talking about about a practical exam, how do you learn? How do you learn practical stuff? Well, it is covered in the course, and it is covered via a tool called EC Council iLabs. iLabs are basically your virtual labs, which are present in the cloud, which you connect to through your browser. It's basically a hypervisor running different machines. It's fully automated. You do not require expensive hardware. You do not require 10 laptops to set up a lab to practice. You can do everything on the cloud through your browser. So that is amazing, and everything is guided as well. Let's say there are 140 plus labs in CH. Then every single lab has some labs might have 10 steps, exercises. Some exercises might have 30 steps. All of them are properly, proper steps are given and you're guided along the way. Talking about CH10, V10 specifically, this is the setup of the iLabs. So as you can see, you get a Kali Linux 2017.3 version to which you can hack. You also get a Windows 8.1, which has some Windows tools in it. Right, you get an Ubuntu computer, you get a Windows Server 2012, 2016, you get a Windows 10 computer, you get an Android device connected to it. So basically, everything that you could dream of to learn and to practice hacking is available. So that is amazing. Now that we've spoken so much about the practicals, I feel that it's time for me to show you some more. So let's quickly dive into two more practicals. Right? These are the final practicals that I have for you for the day. The one on the left, the symbol on the left, it represents an attack called phishing, right? And the one on the right is an attack called SQL injections or SQL injections. So let's start with this, and let's connect to our Kali machine again. All right, perfect. Let's go to practical number 2. So what is phishing? Phishing is, let me ask you a question. Just think about it. How many of you have won the lottery via an email, right? I'm sure you get spam mail every day, or you get mail which looks genuine, and you might have even fallen for such things. So phishing is basically when someone sends you a malicious link, they trick you into clicking on it, or maybe downloading a Trojan, maybe going to a login page of a website and stealing your credentials. So basically that is it. If done through an email, it's called phishing. If you send an SMS, it's called smishing. If you use VoIP, it's called vishing, and so on. So in this specific demo, we will be using, we'll try to steal credentials of our victim. So the first thing that I'm going to do is my aim is to steal credentials of Facebook. So the first thing I'll do is I'll copy the entire website and I'll clone the entire website on my computer. To do that, I'll just go to facebook.com. I'm just going to force the English version. Right? As you can see, I have forced the English version of Facebook. I'll copy this. I'll go to my folder. I'll use a command called curl. Curl is a very strong tool which helps you manipulate your HTTP requests and get responses. So I'm just going to paste this. Fine, and whatever I get, I'm going to save this into a file called index.html. All right, done. If I open the folder, you can see that the index.html file has been created. If I open it, you can see that the entire Facebook login page is now present. So that's the first thing, right? Okay. So our first step is complete. The second step is now to host this page on our computer and listen for connections and listen for stuff when people enter it. For that, I'm going to use something called the social engineering toolkit. So let me quickly fire this up. For this example, we'll be selecting the first option in the menu. You can play around with this tool yourself. It's the social engineering attacks. Then I will select the second option, which is website attack vectors. I'll then go to the third option, that's the credential harvester attack, because we want to steal credentials. In this, there are some, they've already created some web templates. So if I go to web templates, this is the postbag IP address. That's basically my IP address that they are asking for. All right, where do we want to start the listener? So this is that. Then in this specific version of social engineering toolkit, there are three different versions which already exist. So one is Twitter, one is Google, and one is another Java required thing. So let's try 3. We select the template. We press enter. 1 second. I guess I have my server still running. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we have started a server. Let's go to our local host. Let's go to our local machine and check what is running. As you can see, when we go to localhost, the Twitter sign-in page comes up. That's one way of doing it. In our case, we are using a customized page, right? I'm just going to exit from this and start the toolkit again because it sometimes has an issue if I continue the same session. So I'll go to the menu again. And this time I'll go to custom import because we want to import a custom file. Right? So I'll do that. I'll press enter when it asks for an IP. Now it is asking for the path of the website to be cloned. So let me just go out here, check out the path. Right, this is the path. I'll copy it and I'll paste it, and then I'll put the file name. It then asks me for the URL of the website from where I imported it. Okay, so let me just copy paste that again. Right, this is the English version of Facebook. I'll copy it, I'll paste it out here, and great. So now, according to this tooltip, we have started our, we are now listening on our local server. So now if I go to localhost again, you can see that the page is now replaced by the Facebook login page, so which is amazing. What localhost means is that the page is now running on my IP address, right? So if I go to 192.168.1.61, which is my IP, the Facebook page will open up. Now, my aim is to send this link, right? To copy this link and send it to my victim and have them open it. But if I do that, I believe no one is stupid enough to open it specifically. Right? So when they see an IP address, no one is going to open it up. Everyone knows that it's a scam. So to bypass it, I will use a URL shortener. You can use any URL shortener. I'll be using bit.ly. Okay, these should bit.ly. I'll go here and I'll shorten it. I can shorten the URL. So we created a shortened URL. I'll copy it. Okay. And now I can share this link with anyone. So let's try to, so I'll keep this open. Now let's say I send an email, I send this link via an email, via an SMS, or via WhatsApp or any other form, and the user clicks on it, right? So when the user clicks on it, let's see what happens. So a Facebook login page opens up. The user puts in their Facebook credentials. So in this case, I'll just put in anything. Let me do this. They'll put in a password. All right, done. And then log in. Let's see what happens when we log in. As you can see, that as soon as I press login, I was actually able to log in to the computer, which is crazy, right? How did this happen? I'll get back to this in a few seconds or in minutes. Coming back to our Kali machine, we can see that we were able to steal the username and the secret password. Okay, in this case, it was a super secret password, which I had entered. So we were able to take out the credentials out here. Now the question arises that how did the user, how did the user actually log in? Well, if you remember, this tool had asked us for the original, had asked us for the original URL of the website which we imported it from. So what it does is when a user clicks the login button, it redirects them to this page, whatever you write out here. And because I was already logged in into my Facebook account, I already had a session the victim already had a session. So it basically just refreshed the page and I was able to log in. So no one, the victim will never ever be able to suspect anything. So that's a good thing. And yeah, 1 second. So that is the first example that I wanted to show you. The second example is SQL injections. Let's quickly understand what SQL is and how and what does SQL injection mean. So for those who know, who have written SQL queries, right, you'll be able to follow easily. For others, I've tried to make it super easy. So SQL stands for structured query language, and it is a language which you use to talk to your databases, right? So in this case, so let's say there is a login form. There's a login form on a website. A basic SQL query for that login form would look something like this. So select star from users. Users is the name of the table, where username is equal to user. Here the user inputs, the input from the user comes, and the password is equal to pass. This is a very, very basic query that I'm showing you. And on that login form, there are two places where you ask for a username and you ask for a password. So let's say in the input we write this, or how about this? Okay. Or what? So whatever we write here, other than admin, is really not important. I'll show you why. So if I copy this and I copy paste this in user and password both, so let's see what the query then becomes. Right? I'm going to copy this out here, and I'm going to copy it out here. Okay. So once we do that, we can see that the query now becomes select star from users, where username is equal to admin, or 1 is equal to 1. So in this where statement, the condition, either one condition needs to be true, right? Because we inserted an or command. So even if the user is not admin, but 1 is equal to 1 will always be true. Right? So this entire statement becomes true. Then we move on, and similarly for the password, right? Password is equal to admin or 1 equal to 1, which is again true. So this is true as well. Now that both the conditions are true, you basically log in. Right? This command, it throws back the first entry in the table, in the database table, and you log in as that user. Let's try it out quickly. Okay, 1 second. I'll just go out here. I'll close this. Yeah, I'll open another browser. For this, I'm going to go to a website called. Sorry, I'll go to a website called testphp.oneweb.com. It is a website. So as you can see, it's not a real shop, right? It's an application which is specifically designed to test web attacks. So it's totally legal what I'm trying to do. I'll go to the sign up form, and I'll paste it. I'll paste my command out here, and I'll press login. There's some kind of delay. Let's wait for it. All right, till the time this is happening, we can go to another website, because there seems to be some delay out here. Try it again. So we can just go to test ASP.1web. It's the same thing. I can go to the login page, and I can paste my command out here. Once I do this, you can see that zoom it in. You can see that I've logged in as user, right? And it asks me if I want to log out or not. So I can log out from here. So this is basically me doing an authentication bypass, right? By injecting my code into an SQL query. This is the first thing that you can do. The second thing is, as you can see in this on this page, they also have credentials, right? Test and test. So you can either use that to log in as well. The problem with this website right now, which I feel is, this website is open to the world. Now, a lot of people log in and they try different attacks, and that's the reason why why there is a delay, and someone might have just put a sleep command. Once they log in and they manipulate other code, that is there. I'm just going to do a final test, because I have two other attacks that I wanted to show you on this specific thing. Let me just test if that is working or not. Let's try this. Let's try this. Okay, perfect. So let's just hopefully there's nothing out here. Let's go to sign up again. Let's try to log in to our command. Okay, perfect. It's working. We are able to log in. Before someone again, does something, I'll quickly show you the other practical that I have for this. So in this case scenario, we did not know the username, we did not know the password, and we were able to log in. Let's take it a step further. Let's say you do know the username, but you have no idea about the password. So for that, to brute force it, right, using an SQL injection attack, I can basically guess every single letter of that password. I have written a small script for it. I've written a small script which is there. When I run, let me run the program and then explain the script simultaneously. You can see the sql.py present. I'll do python sql.py and press enter. Okay, luckily it's running. There's not a lot of lag. So let me quickly explain to you what is going on. So we're trying to log in using the username test and the password as this, right? This is the password that we're trying. For the password, we're trying to create a true situation. So earlier, so in authentication bypass, we use 1 equal to 1. In this, we're trying to find the password. So we say that, try to find the first letter, try to find the first letter of the password for user test. And if it is 0, give me true. Or if it is not 0, then tell me that it's false. Because if it's true, if the first letter is 0, then this condition becomes true and you log in. Okay? So so we're basically trying to brute force every single letter. So we do this, right? We do this. We see that the first hit comes at T. Right? So we found T. The second hit comes at E and then at S, right? The next one comes at T. So, and then we're trying to find out more. The test is still running. And you'll eventually see that the test, so it'll try every single character as the 5th character for the password. And when nothing matches, then we'll come to know that the password found earlier, that is test, is the final password. And as we know, I'll just quickly show this to you. As we already know that this is the right credential, right? Test is the right credential. It is the right password. So that is one way of doing it. Yeah, like now you can see that, the password is found. So this is the second way. Right? The first way, we were able to log in without any credentials. The second way, we were able to find password of one user. The third and final SQL injection that I'm going to show you is now we'll try to dump the entire database of the website. Okay. So for that, we're going to use a tool called SQL Map and a tool called Burpsuit. Burpsuit is an amazing tool. So this is Burpsuit. It's an amazing tool to intercept the get and post requests that are sent to the browser. Right? And then you can manipulate it. So I'm just going to it basically acts like a proxy server between you and your router, and it captures all the requests going out from your computer, right, and forwards it. So we've started the interception on. We're intercepting all the requests now. I'll quickly go to my browser. I will run the traffic to Burp. This is a plugin proxy that I'm using, where I've configured the proxy for Burpsuit. I'm going to do that. I'm now going to write any username. I'm going to write any password. And I'm going to click on login. As you can see, the page, is still loading. The reason for this is because the request hasn't gone anywhere and it hasn't received the response. So when we go to Burpsuit, we can see that the entire request has been intercepted. We'll quickly select this, copy this, go to our folder, create a file called requests.txt. We're going to paste it out there. So this is the entire request, and we're going to save it and close it. Okay, that's all. We will now run the SQL command. As you can see, the file is created. So we'll do SQL map -r is to give the request input, give the name of the file. I want to find out all the databases present on the website. Okay, so I'll do -dbs and I do --batch. I press enter and let's see what happens. Okay, that was fairly quick. So you can see that it was able to find 2 databases in the website. Okay, the one of them is information schema, which basically has everything. The other one is called Aquat. Let's try to enumerate more into this database. So I'll now select a database, which is ACUART, and try to find the tables present in that database. So once I do that, I can see that there are different tables like artists, cards, category, featured. And then there's a table called users. That looks interesting. Let's try to find the different columns which are present in the table users. Right? So I'll select the table users. I'll do column. As you can see that we were successfully able to enumerate the different columns. One of them is view name, right? And there's something called path as well. So this seems like a table that we are interested in. Let me now dump all the data, the entire data of the table. Okay, so I'll just remove the columns command and I'll write dump instead. So it'll just take a few seconds. It might have found an MD5 hash in the table and it's trying to crack that for some reason. All right, there you go. So as you can see, there's an entire users table that is present. You can see the name. You can see the MD5 hash present under the cart column. This is what it was trying to crack, which I guess it wasn't able to. Then you can see the username test and the password as test as well. So using this method, obviously on this specific website, there's only one user. But let's say if you were doing a pen test, if you were doing the test for a company and you did come across a SQL injection, a place where you could inject SQL code, you could successfully dump the entire database of the company, and that's a major loophole, right? Your entire data going out, and this is how leaks happen. I'm going to show you a website which all of you should try. It's called Have I Been Pawned? Have I Been Pawned? Right? You can go out here. You can write your email address and click on the button Pawned. Once you do that, it will show you if your password has been leaked somewhere or not. And if it has been leaked, is it there open to the public? Is it there on the dark web, or is it there on a website called Pastebin? Is it publicly present? So even if it's not there publicly, it is still there for sale. So you can check this out and you can change the password if that's the case. So that's it for practicals. Let's continue with the presentation now. Okay. So now let's see what all we've covered till now. We've covered what is cybersecurity, why is it important, right? What is the life of a cybersecurity professional, how to start your career, right? What does a certified ethical hacker course entail? What are the different details, the practical aspect of it. You've actually seen a few attacks that practically live. You've seen that, and yes, all these attacks are taught to you in the course as well. And these are very basic attacks, and they're much higher end attacks which are also taught. So that's there. Now comes the major question that I'm sure all of you will have, that okay, if I get into this domain, right? If I get into the cybersecurity domain, if I do the course, if I do multiple courses, what is my future? Do I get a job? What kind of job do I get? What is the kind of pay that I'll be getting? Specifically in my area, I'm in the Middle East, I'm in Africa, I'm in India. What happens? So the good thing is, firstly, all these different areas, right? Especially the IMEA region, it's an upcoming region, right? Unlike maybe the States, unlike US or some place in Europe, we are still developing, and we are today slowly closing into all the different countries. Okay, and there's a lot of growth in our country specifically happening. So that's an amazing thing, because if let's say we were a developed country, we would have reached the saturation point, and we would have lost the monopoly when it comes to cybersecurity. But because we're developing, and because our governments are now opening up to such things, it is amazing. It's the right time for you to get into the industry, specifically in these areas, right? So let's see how you can make a career out of this. How you can take one course, you can start with one course, and then develop it and create an entire career out of it, convert it into a career, right? So the first thing is strong foundation. You need to have that. You can do that by doing the CH course. That's an amazing place to start, and you can then prove your practical skill with the CH practical. Right? You can get both the theoretical and the practical knowledge. So once you have the strong foundation, the next step would be to practice. There's a saying which says it goes like practice makes you perfect. So practice all that you can. These are three places that you can practice. The first is one of the best places, that obviously the iLabs. When you go for the course, you get a 6-month access to the iLabs. So you have 6 months to practice all you want out there, and you can do the same exercise 100 times if you want to. Another place is called One Hub, right? It has vulnerable machines, which you can download. They are basically virtual machines, which you can download and run on your local machine, and then practice hacking them. They differ from there are different difficulty machines available, from easy to hard. The final one is called Attack Defense. It's an amazing website, right? Sadly, it's not free anymore. It used to be some time back, but you can check it out. It has more than 300, 400 online web applications that you can basically try hacking. So that's an amazing place to practice as well. Moving on, so now that you're practicing, right, you have a strong foundation, you're practicing, you must be thinking now that, all right, it's high time that, firstly I start earning. And secondly, you might realize that while practicing, there are a few concepts that you need to learn other than hacking. So let's say there are a few networking concepts that are required. There are a few, maybe you want to know something of Python, basics of Python, some PHP coding, and things like this. So to continuously learn, you can go and check out a product called CodeRed. Right? I'll quickly show you the website. Let me do that. CodeRed. Right. So again, this is a product by EC Council that you can take. If you can see, this has a subscription model, right? They have paid versions as well. They have a free version as well that you can just try it out. You can do that today. And with the paid version, you also get premium courses. So let's see what kind of courses do you offer. Do they offer, and what all things you can entail from here. So Infosec, they have things like wireless pen testing with a Raspberry Pi. This is amazing. There's Python for pen testers. There's hands-on Android security. They talk about ransomware. So there's the entire CISM course of Osaka. Right? That's the Certified Information Security Manager. It's an 8.5 hours class that you can attend and do it at your pace. So you can go on. There's a show all button. And as you can see, there are a lot of courses, right, that you can check out. There's a comprehensive ethical hacking course which is for 33 hours. Right? It's a beginner level course, which you can also check out. So that is there. Other than this, they have web development courses. So they have things like Python, and they have the different development tools. They teach you about Dockers. You can learn from there. You can do different you do different networking courses like CCNA, whatever is taught out there. You can go through it. But you do not have to spend a lot of money into buying and doing every single certification separate. So you can do that, and then there's a course on cloud computing for Microsoft Azure, for AWS specifically. So you can do all of this as well. So moving on, so that's CodeRed. So while doing this, I'm sure you would also want to earn, right? You maybe still in your university, you're still studying, you cannot go do a job, or let's say you are doing a job, but you want to do something as a freelancer as well when you're free. You can go do that on websites like BugCrowd and HackerOne. They're amazing platforms to work for bug bounty. Once you do that, you continuously, you're learning and earning. Then you take a skill to the next level. You can move on and you can do the ECSA or the EC Council Certified Security Analyst course, which basically teaches you about all the different methodologies of hacking. Let's say you could talk to your client, right? You have a client, Microsoft is a client, you need to talk to them. What is the kind of documentation which takes place? What are compliance things that are going on? All of that, plus a lot of high-end techniques for hacking as well. And once you're doing that, you can simultaneously practice on a website called Hack the Box. It's an amazing place. Again, has computers for different different difficulties. In this case, you do not have to download virtual machines. You can just connect to a VPN and start hacking. So that is taking the skill to the next level. And once you've done everything, right? Once let's say you're at the second step or the third step, or the fourth step, you can then then you graduate, and you can basically get your dream job, and that is hacking. Right? You'll be doing the coolest job for a living, and you can start doing that. And while doing the job, you can always upgrade your skill by doing other courses, like you can do the LPT course eventually. That's the Licensed Penetration Tester Master. You can do the Chief Information Security Officer course, and become the head of everyone. Eventually, that's the aim, I suppose. So you can do all of this. Talking about the scope, right? These are a few job roles which are there. So when you go for a job, what will it be named? So if you look online, you can look for security analysts, you can look for information security officers, security auditors, right? Forensic analyst people, depending if you're in forensics or not, right? So all of that. So these are the different job roles, and a few companies that as of today hire EC council professionals. You can have a look. I'm sure that all of you would at least recognize one company or more, right? So these are all top-notch companies in the world, which have a policy where they say that uh, sadly today universities, because they do not teach cybersecurity, so they are also dependent on certification. And when it comes to certifications, the highest benchmark today, as I told you earlier, is the CEHvio. So even if you go on LinkedIn and you search for employees who are working, on these job roles at these companies, you'll see that like 9 or 10 people are certified with an EC Council certification. And specifically, you'll find the CS certification present out there. Coming to the pay. Now, this is something that I would like you to do right now. If you have your mobile in front of you, you can fire it up. If you are watching this on your laptop or your desktop, and you can multitask, open up your browser, right? Write this line. Go to Google, write this line, average salary of CEH. You can either write this. If it shows you your local city results, you can just write average salary of CEH in the world. If you do this, and I'll give you 30 seconds for this. In this specific example, I have given the numbers for 2019 because 2020, as we all know, hasn't been a really good year, especially in, there aren't a lot of stats which are available on the net. So I've put in the 2019 stats. So yes, I hope all of you have searched about it, and now that the reality is in front of you, right? Now that you're able to see what the kind of pay package is, I'm sure all the pieces of the puzzle would have now come together. So yes, I'm quickly going to sum up my talk. I'm just going to tell you that remember that the population on this planet is increasing, and so is the technology. The number of with the increasing population and the technology that's increasing, cybercrime is at an all-time high. Sorry, it's at an all-time high, and hence the requirement for cybersecurity professionals is at an all-time high as well. The question when it comes that it's at an all-time high today, but what about tomorrow? Well, the thing is, if you feel that internet is going to shut down tomorrow, maybe in 5 years or 10 years, internet as a whole will die, then maybe cybersecurity profession as a profession is not good. But if you feel that the internet as a whole, internet will exist even after 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, well then technologies come and go. Uh, Initially there used to be a lot of ASP development. Now PHP is there. So technologies they come, they go. If you're a specific developer, if you're a software developer, you're doing it in .NET, maybe that's there today, maybe it's not there 20 years from now. But newer technologies will be there. Until the time newer technologies come, are present, there will be loopholes and there will be cybercrime. So this is one of the most upcoming and one of the safest careers to be in, and yes, it is also one of the highest paying. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for giving in your time today, and we'll be now open to your questions and your queries. Thank you.